Live is sponsored by the Karl Truman Law Office.
Welcome back. If you've been hurt on the job, you've been introduced to the confusing world of workers' compensation claims.
Indeed. Karl Truman's here to explain some of the unfamiliar terms you may hear. Karl, good to see you again, as always.
Good morning. Thank you.
Yes, and a lot of these acronyms are things that the average person like me has no clue what they mean or what they stand for, but a lot of people will be given this list of jargon and have to figure all of this out.
Yeah, in the Army, I thought we had a lot of acronyms to remember, but in the legal world, we have just as many, seems.
So the first one here, temporary total disability, TTD, that's the first benefit that you would try to receive, right?
Right. Under workers' compensation, if the doctor takes you off work, so you're hurt on the job, and the doctor says you can't work to be treated, then the first thing you have to worry about is TTD. That's called temporary total disability, which is 66 2/3% of your average weekly wage that you're paid while you can't work to be treated. And that's a temporary benefit.
All right, and so obviously you can move along to, if necessary, a permanent state PTD?
Right. Once you get to the point where another term you'll hear is MMI, maximum medical improvement, where the doctor says this is as good as you're going to get, then we have to look at, well, what kind of, do you have a permanent injury? Can you go back to work? What kind of work can you do? If you can't do any type of gainful employment, you're totally disabled, then PTD, permanent total disability.
First off, is there a time limitation on, let's say you're injured at work, and then do you have to file something within a week, a month, a year? What is the legal limitation here?
Well, the rule of thumb that I tell everybody is you want to notify your employer immediately because the longer you wait, then the bigger question comes up, well, did you really get hurt at work? You know, it opens questions where they could say, well, did you get hurt at home or somewhere else? So you have to notify your employer as soon as possible.
And what about a doctor? Obviously, you're going to have some sort of medical proof that you are seriously hurt, that you can't work.
Well, absolutely, and that's where we come into the medical documentation and getting to a doctor right away to be able to document what happened.
Okay, now something you say is the most common here, PPD, permanent partial disability.
Right. Oftentimes, as I said, sometimes, once you're done with your treatment, sometimes people can't go back to work at all. But most people can go back to work doing something. They may still have a permanent injury where they still have some permanent limitation, but they can still work. So that's PPD, permanent partial disability. And then that gets into a complicated formula about your wages, how badly you're hurt, what permanent injury you have, can you go back to your old job. So it gets kind of complicated. But that is the permanent partial disability benefit.
It's important to have legal guidance to wade through all this alphabet soup that can be thrown at you. It's confusing and overwhelming, and if you're hurting, your brain's not working right anyway.
Well, that's right. You know, some people think, well, I mean, they'll be fair with me, I can do it myself, but as you can tell from this lingo that we have to banter about, you know, unless you're really familiar with it, you really do need an experienced workers' compensation attorney who can help you through the process.
Yeah, and it's serious because if you're losing that income, maybe you're supporting not just yourself, but a family. You may have children. I mean, this can really impact entire households.
That's right. There's a lot of complicated statutes and rules that have to be followed, and if they aren't followed correctly, it can jeopardize benefits.
Even if something happened to you 6 months ago and you hurt your back or whatever, and you've dealt with it and you thought, I can't deal with this anymore, is it too late to throw up a flag?
Well, it's never too late to call and ask for help.
Okay.
You know, and so we're always willing to try to see, because sometimes we can, even if it's been a while, you know, we can see where you are. Maybe you've been getting benefits, but you don't know, well, what do I do now? The doctor says I'm ready to go back to work.
All right, Karl, thank you so much. If you do need legal help with your workers' compensation claim, you can reach Karl Truman at 502-222-2222.
Go online at trumanlaw.com. We're coming right back.
Listen to what people are saying about their new